Today's May 22nd, 2024. It's the appearance day of Lord Nrsimhadeva. So I thought we'll read from 7th Canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam. I'm on chapter 5. I thought we'll just start with the introduction, go a few verses. This chapter is entitled Prahlad Maharaj, the saintly son of Hiranyakashipu. And yes, Om Gyanatmirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militamyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitamyena Bhutale Svayamupakadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Tapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganavakna Tanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitan Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakanditamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagat Prate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpa Tuyubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanan Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Namo Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prastaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine, Namaste Saraswati Devi Gurvani Pacharini, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarini. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jamudireya. Before reciting the Srimad-Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should first offer respectful obeisances to the personality of Godhead Narayan, to Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, and to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and then to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Master praise for Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevya, Bhagavat Utama Shloke, Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. So we're reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 5, entitled Prahlad Maharaj, the saintly son of Hiranyakashipu. I'm going to read the introduction, and maybe we'll read a few verses after that. We'll see where we go. Prahlad Maharaj did not carry out the orders of his teachers, for he was always engaged in worshipping Lord Vishnu. As described in this chapter, Hiranyakashipu tried to kill Prahlad Maharaj, even by having a snake bite him and by putting him under the feet of elephants, yet he was unsuccessful. Hiranyakashipu's spiritual master, Shukracharya, had two sons named Sanda and Amarka, to whom Prahlad Maharaj was entrusted for education. Although the teachers tried to educate the boy Prahlad in politics, economics, and other material activities, he did not care for their instructions. Instead, he continued to be a pure devotee. Prahlad Maharaj never liked the idea of discriminating between one's friends and enemies. Because he was spiritually inclined, he was equal toward everyone. Once upon a time, Hiranyakashipu inquired from his son what the best thing was that he had learned from his teachers. Prahlad Maharaj replied that a man engrossed in the material consciousness of duality, thinking, this is mine and that belongs to my enemy, should give up his householder life and go to the forest to worship the Supreme Lord. When Hiranyakashipu heard from his son about devotional service, he decided that this small boy had been polluted by some friend in school. Thus, he advised the teachers to take care of the boy so that he would not become a Krishna-conscious devotee. However, when the teachers inquired from Prahlad Maharaj why he was going against their teachings, Prahlad Maharaj taught the teachers that the mentality of ownership is false and that he was therefore trying to become an unalloyed devotee of Lord Vishnu. The teachers, being very angry at this answer, chastised and threatened the boy with many fearful conditions. They taught him to the best of their ability and then brought him before his father. Hiranyakashipu affectionately took his son Prahlad on his lap and then inquired from him what the best thing was that he had learned from his teachers. as usual, Prahlad Maharaj began praising the 9 processes of devotional service, such as Shravanam and Kirtanam. Thus, the king of the demons, Hiranyakashipu, being extremely angry, chastised the teacher, Sandanamarka, for having wrongly trained Prahlad Maharaj. The so-called teachers informed the king that Prahlad Maharaj was automatically a devotee and did not listen to their instruction. When they proved themselves innocent, Hiranyakashipu inquired from Prahlad where he had learned Vishnu Bhakti. Prahlad Maharaj replied that those who are attached to family life do not develop Krishna consciousness, either personally or collectively. Instead, they suffer repeated birth and death in this material world and continue simply chewing the chewed. Prahlad explained that the duty of every man is to take shelter of a pure devotee and thus become eligible to understand Krishna consciousness. Enraged at this answer, Hiranyakashipu threw Prahlad Maharaj from his lap. Since Prahlad was so treacherous that he had become a devotee of Vishnu, who had killed his uncle Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu asked his assistants to kill him. The assistants of Hiranyakashipu struck Prahlad with sharp weapons, threw him under the feet of elephants, subjected him to hellish conditions, threw him from the peak of a mountain, and tried to kill him in thousands of other ways. But they were unsuccessful. Hiranyakashipu therefore became increasingly afraid of his son Prahlad Maharaj and arrested him. The sons of Hiranyakashipu's spiritual master, Shukracharya, began teaching Prahlad in their own way, but Prahlad Maharaj did not accept their instructions. While the teachers were absent from the classroom, Prahlad Maharaj began to preach Krishna consciousness in the school, and by his instructions, all his class friends, the sons of the demons, became devotees like him. Hare Krishna. So today's the appearance day of Lord Nrsimhadeva, and Lord Nrsimhadeva, of course, very associated with his great devotee Prahlad Maharaj, just like the avatar, the incarnation of Lord Vamanadeva is associated with Bali Maharaj. The Meena avatar or Matsya avatar is associated with Satyavrata Muni, like that. And so the 7th canto really is just all 15 chapters. There's Prahlad Maharaj, and especially the first 10 chapters are about the pastimes leading up to and directly involving Nrsimhadeva and Hiranyakashipu. So this canto is focuses on those pastimes, and there's quite extensive and intensive nuance and subtle philosophy of Vaishnavism all throughout this 7th canto, as throughout the whole Bhagavatam. So we're choosing one chapter. This is Prahlad, it's in chapter 5, entitled Prahlad Maharaj, the saintly son of Hiranyakashipu. So, okay, so one thing just, from the introduction this chapter, for example, like we hear a lot in Prabhupada's teachings about the 9 processes of devotional service, right? Okay, where does that come from? That comes from this chapter. Hiranyakashipu is asking his son, what's your favorite subject in school? What's the best thing you learned in school? And Prahlad Maharaj responds, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, Smaranam Padasevanam, Archanam Vandanam Dasyam, Sakyam Akya Nivedana, Sakyam Atma Nivedanam Iti Pushpara Pita Vishnu, Bhakti's 10 Navalakshana Kriyata Bhagavat Yada, Tanmanye Ditam Uttamam. And so Prahlad Maharaj responds, I'll read the translation. Prahlad Maharaj said, hearing and chanting about the transcendental holy name, form, qualities, paraphernalia, and pastimes of Lord Vishnu, remembering them, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, offering the Lord respectful worship with 16 types of paraphernalia, offering prayers to the Lord, becoming his servant, considering the Lord one's best friend, and surrendering everything unto him. In other words, serving him with the body, mind, and words. These 9 processes are accepted as pure devotional service. One who has dedicated his life to the service of Krishna through these 9 methods should be understood to be the most learned person, for he has acquired complete knowledge. And just the verse before that, just for the context. Hiranyakashipu said, "My dear Prahlad, my dear son, O long-lived one, for so much time you have heard many things from your teachers. Now please repeat to me whatever you think is the best of that knowledge." So Hiranyakashipu got an answer he did not want. And there's just, and then there's like a 14-page purport. Perhaps it might be the longest purport in all of Prabhupada's books in purporting the Shravanam Kirtanam verse. Very, very long purport. And there's many other verses in this chapter from Prahlad Maharaj that Prabhupada quotes a lot. He refers to some of them in the introduction. And Prabhupada, the context, so Vishnu killed Hiranyaksha. Hiranyaksha was terrorizing the universe, and then Vishnu appeared, and so with a club, Hiranyaksha tried to kill Vishnu in the form of Lord Boar, Varahadev. Just like today, the idea of killing God with a club that's very primitive. But the idea is especially trying to kill God with philosophy, trying to kill God with philosophy, and that's the idea today. And it's like that's the current attempt at a club. So of course, Lord Varahadev won the fight. That's described extensively in the third canto of Bhagavatam. And so Hiranyakashipu, he has a lot of affection for his brother. So he's an enemy of Vishnu. The context. We can go further back in the context. Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, they were Jai and Vijay in the spiritual world. They were cursed by the Kumaras. This is all described in the seventh canto and other places in the Bhagavatam. But so Hiranyakashipu, Lord Vishnu is his sworn enemy. Okay, now he has a son, Prahlad. And then they're at like 5 years old. Prahlad's saying, yes, all I want to do with my life, the goal of life, to hear and chant about Vishnu, serve Vishnu. So just to have some empathy for Hiranyakashipu, like my own son wants us all to worship and serve the murderer of his uncle. Just some context there, just some context, right? All right. And and so in this chapter, Prahlad there's a few back and forth. At first, Hiranyakashipu just thought, okay, well, this boy's innocent, and probably maybe some friend got contaminated and influenced him. So the teachers, you need to keep an eye on him, that he's protected and he doesn't get all this Vaishnav contamination, right? So the teachers are protecting him, teaching him about politics and war and economics and all that. And then again, Hiranyakashipu says, "Oh yeah, so what is the best?" And then again, Prahlad Maharaj is saying the Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, serve Vishnu. That's the best. That's the best knowledge. So then Hiranyakashipu gets really angry at the teachers. He thought, you're traitors. And so the teachers said, we're going to be killed now, like that. But the teachers, they defend themselves, truly. No, we didn't teach him this. We didn't teach him. It's not us. It's not us. So they convince Hiranyakashipu, and then eventually Hiranyakashipu gets, it's not the teachers. It's not a friend. You're like just a bad apple. You're going to spoil all your classmates and like that. And then it's trying to kill him in different ways. So Hiranyakashipu, he's like the best example of a highly successful materialist. The idea is Ishvaraham, Ahambogi, Siddhoham, Balavan, Sukhi, material consciousness. I want to control. I'm the controller. I'm the enjoyer. Look at me. I'm happy. I'm perfect. I got these aristocratic friends and relatives. Look at me. Look at me. So Hiranyakashipu was highly successful because we got our puny little spheres of control, like that. But so Hiranyakashipu's senses drove him to need to control the entire universe, right? His senses, including his ego and mind, drove him to need to control the entire universe. And that's what we all want. We all want to control me. Material life means I really should be the autonomous controller of the entire universe. That's really the meaning of material life. And so his sense, so just the difference is he was successful. Even the demigods were bowing at his feet. How can we serve you? So he was like a successful materialist for other materialists to admire. So his senses drove him to need to control the entire universe. He succeeded. And he performed a lot of great austerity. That's described in some of the earlier chapters in the seventh canto. He performed a lot of fasting and yoga postures, and ants were eating his body. So he got a lot of power through that austerity, and he controlled the entire universe. And he still wasn't satisfied. So that's the material thing, because even we get the control over what we want, that bank account, that person, that prestige, that respect, that position, whatever. And then we're still not satisfied. And then so it was so super frustrating for Nrsimhadeva, because he succeeded to be king, emperor of the entire universe. And but then there's just this one person who's not bowing down in full awe and reverence, and that's his son. So it's just like so frustrating. That was intolerable. That was this one person. It's his son, and not only is his son not accepting him as the supreme controller of all creation, the son is heartfelt devotion to the murderer of his uncle. So this is just intolerable for it's just like
and teaching others.
And teaching others, yeah, that's
rebelling.
Yes, right.
Leading a rebellion.
Yeah, leading a rebellion amongst his classmates, and that's true. This chapter, the first verse of the next chapter is another verse that Prabhupada quotes extensively. Kamara achret pragyo dharmam bhagavatamya durlabam manusham janma tarat yat juvam artidam. And that's where Prahlad, because his schoolmates were saying, oh, well, this Krishna consciousness, yeah, oh, we get it. But, maybe when we're older, maybe when we're like old guys, but then Prahlad Maharaj in that verse says, no, start as children. And no, don't wait. And then he gives an explanation. So that verse, the first text of the sixth chapter of seventh canto, Prahlad Maharaj says, well, the chapter is entitled Prahlad Instructs His Demoniac Schoolmates. And that verse reads, Prahlad Maharaj said, one who is sufficiently intelligent should use the human form of body from the very beginning of life. In other words, from the tender age of childhood, to practice the activities of devotional service, giving up all other engagements. The human body is most rarely achieved, and although temporary like other bodies, it is meaningful, because in human life one can perform devotional service. Even a slight amount of sincere devotional service can give one complete perfection. Yes. So again, Hiranyakashipu, he's like the quintessential materialist. And we can understand, like he had affection for his brother. And after his brother died at the funeral, Hiranyakashipu speaks very valid, nice philosophy, speaking Bhagavad Gita to his relatives. We're not the body, let's not grieve over what's temporary. That's earlier in this canto. He knows the Vedas, just like Ravana and Kamsa, and they also knew the Vedas. They just didn't accept the ultimate conclusion. And that's the nature of material life is like, there's always, and Prabhupada uses the word pinprick. There's always going to be a disturbance. And we can take that analogy of the pinprick. Just like, oh, we got this. We got, my health is otherwise good. And we got the money in the bank, and we got the people like me, and we got the house and the car, and people respect. But if we have like this thorn somewhere in our body, it's just like this constant thing, just like but I can't ignore that. I think that's just causing me so much pain. And so for Hiranyakashipu, he had everything, but then just one person, his son, was not respecting him or worshiping. No, Prahlad was respecting Hiranyakashipu. He was very respectful, but he wasn't accepting him as the supreme God. And he was accepting as the supreme divine personality, he was accepting the murderer of his uncle, like that. So that was the one. So that's materialized. Always going to be some disturbances from other people. The threefold miseries: Dharma, Projita, Kortavachara, Paramo, Nirmat, Saranam, Satam, Vejam, Bastram, Atravastu, Shivadam. This Bhagavad Purana, completely rejecting all religious activities that are materially motivated. This Bhagavad Purana propounds the highest truth, which is understood by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion, and it completely uproots the threefold miseries. That's miseries from others. Hiranyakashipu had his pinprick was a misery from his son, and miseries from our own mind and body and from natural disturbances like that. So, okay. I'm going to read text 1 of chapter 7, Canto 5. Shri Narada Uvacha Porohityaya Bhagavan Vrita Kavya Kilasarai Sandamarkao Sutau Tasya Daityaraja Grihantike. Yes. Translation. The great Saint Narada Muni said, the demons headed by Hiranyakashipu accepted Shukracharya as their priest for ritualistic ceremonies. Shukracharya's two sons, Sanda and Amarka, lived near Hiranyakashipu's palace. So just for context, this whole 7th canto about, it's all about Prahlad Maharaj, the first 10 chapters, Prahlad Maharaj and Nrsimhadeva and Hiranyakashipu. And it's all narrated by Narada Muni speaking to Maharaj Yudhisthira, right there about 5,000 years ago. Narada Muni speak to Maharaj Yudhisthira. And it's really in the context of a philosophical discussion about what's it mean that Krishna, God, is equal and not partial. So this is Narada Muni speaking to Maharaj Yudhisthira. And in the purport, Prabhupada writes, the beginning of the life story of Prahlad is recounted as follows. Shukracharya became the priest of the atheists, especially Hiranyakashipu, and thus his two sons, Sanda and Amarka, resided near Hiranyakashipu's residence. Shukracharya should not have become the priest of Hiranyakashipu, because Hiranyakashipu and his followers were all atheists. A Brahmin should become the priest of a person interested in the advancement of spiritual culture. The very name Shukracharya, however, indicates a person interested in obtaining benefits for his sons and descendants, regardless of how the money comes. A real Brahmin would not become a priest for atheistic men. So Shukracharya, 2 words, Shukra and Acharya. So Acharya, what's the meaning of Acharya? It's a quiz.
The representative of a bona fide disciplined succession.
Yeah, that's one meaning of Acharya. Acharya, yeah. Achar means behavior. Achar means behavior. So an Acharya is one who teaches by his example. And so a bona fide Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, Jesus, one who teaches pure devotion by their example, also by their words and their teachings. So Achar means behavior. So one who teaches by example. So Shukracharya, what's the meaning of Sukra?
It's like sugar.
What's that?
Sounds like sugar.
Sounds like sugar. Okay. Shukra means semen. Okay. So, yeah. So Shukracharya, it means that he's an acharya, he's a priest, he's a guru, in quotes, based on the DNA. based on the heredity, based on hereditary qualities and the genes and the DNA. So he's not, at least in this capacity, he's not a true spiritual acharya. But I'll be your priest, and then my sons and my family and your family, all based on the body, all based on the semen. Okay, that's what Shukracharya means. Okay, so I'll be your priest. I'll be your so-called Brahmin. It's the opposite, because real Brahmin means a Brahmin's just no attachments, telling it like it is. Even it's described like Chanakya Pandit. He would tell, the king was Chandragupta. Chanakya Pandit, he lived outside the town, small hut. He would just tell it like it is, and then the king could give him a reward or curse him. But a true Brahmin's just giving truth with compassion, but not attached to getting paid. Not attached to getting paid. So Shukracharya, I'll do your priestly work. And then my sons can have a position in your kingdom and this and that. So it's completely non-Brahminical. And that very, very much represents like those who maybe have some Brahminical qualities, like, to work with the intelligence. Basically, for the most part, they're sold out to the military industrial complex, to the Kshatriya sector and the Vaishya sector. And just like, if you just give me a job, I'll do the physics for you. I'll do the engineering for you. If you just give me a job. So that's kind of the Shukracharya pseudo-Brahminical principle. Okay. Shukracharya. Text 2 reads, Tauragya prapitam balam paladam naya kovidam patayam asatu patyan anyams chasura balakan. Right. So the translation, Prahlad Maharaj was already educated in devotional life, but when his father sent him to those two sons of Shukracharya to be educated, they accepted him at their school along with the other sons of the Asuras. Okay, so it says Prahlad was already educated in devotional life. Where did he get that education? What's that?
Narada Muni.
Narada Muni, yeah. So, yeah. So this relates Prahlad, and this is described earlier in 7th Canto. So Prahlad Maharaj's spiritual master is Narada Muni. And Narada Muni was speaking to Kayadu. What's her name? Kayadu. That's Prahlad's mother, Hiranyakashipu's wife. And Prahlad was in the womb. Prahlad was in the womb. So transcendental sound vibration, it's not limited. And Prahlad, a sincere soul, he got transformation. He got diksha, divya gyan, while in the womb of his mother. And that was because Hiranyakashipu said, is there another child spoiling things? Is it the teachers who were spies? But Prahlad got it while he was in the womb. Yeah. And okay. So now Prahlad went along with materialistic education to some extent. The next verse reads, text 3. Prahlad certainly heard and recited the topics of politics and economics taught by the teachers, but he understood that political philosophy involves considering someone a friend and someone else an enemy, and thus he did not like it. Purport. Politics involves accepting one group of men as enemies and another group as friends. Everything in politics is based on this philosophy, and the entire world, especially at the present, is engrossed in it. The public is concerned with friendly countries and friendly groups, or enemy countries and enemy groups. But as stated in Bhagavad Gita, a learned person does not make distinctions between enemies and friends. Devotees especially do not create friends and enemies. A devotee sees that every living being is part and parcel of Krishna, Mame Vamsho Jiva Bhuta. Therefore, a devotee treats friends and enemies equally by trying to educate them both in Krishna consciousness. Of course, atheistic men do not follow the instructions of pure devotees, but instead consider a devotee their enemy. A devotee, however, never creates a situation of friendship and enmity. Although Prahlad Maharaj was obliged to hear the instructions of Sandana Amarka, he did not like the philosophy of friends and enemies, which forms the basis of politics. He was not interested in this philosophy. So it's described, like it's described about the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. Dhira, Dhira, Chana, Piyo, Piyakarao, Nimatsarao, Pujitao, Sri Chaitanya, Kripa, Barao, Bhuvi, Bhuvo, Barabavantarakao, Vande, Rupasanatana, Raguyugao, Sri Jiva, Gopalakao. So it describes the Dhira, those who were sober and civilized, and those who were ruffians, maybe the lower classes, the criminal sector society. The 6 Goswamis were dear to all of them. They were dear to all of them. They didn't regard anyone as friend or enemy, just spirit, soul, whatever the body they're in. Let me give them transcendental knowledge. Let me give them Krishna consciousness. So a devotee acts in a way that the devotee is dear to everyone. That doesn't mean a devotee is seeking approval, right? A true Vaishnav is a Brahmin and is transcendental to a material Brahmin. Of course, Shukracharya, he was like a pseudo Brahmin, a pseudo Brahmin in that, and so in the context he's playing here. So both are true, that a devotee is Dhira, Dhira Jana, Priyo, Priyo, Kriyo, Nimatsarao, Pujitao, very dear to everyone. And also it's true that if one takes a stand for pure devotion to God, if one takes a stand for pure devotion to God, pure devotion to Krishna, then even if one is completely pure, it's going to provoke some hostile reaction. Because we described how Hiranyakashipu is the quintessentially successful materialist. And so materialist means Ishvaraham Hambogi Sudham Balavan. The goal, the purpose is to enjoy the senses, either the immediate concentrated senses or the extended body through my family, my community, like that. And so devotional service, it's kind of it's just a strong, unstoppable stand against the very values of the materialist. And so now, of course, and Prabhupada has so many guidelines to emphasize this. Prabhupada has letters to his students saying, like, oh, if someone gets disturbed by your attempts at sharing Krishna consciousness, take a look at yourself. Yeah, what is it about me? Am I coming from, I'm superior? Am I revealing some weeds in my heart? I have the superior knowledge, need for being everyone's best friend, or adoration or distinction. So Prabhupada says it's your nonsense if someone gets disturbed. Prabhupada writes to his disciple, who said, the highest of, this was a letter from December 1972, the highest development of your Krishna consciousness is shown by the extent that you're able to present the universal principles of this philosophy in such a way that whoever you're speaking to, they'll respond positively. Whether you're speaking to the yoga group or to a group of university professors or a group of Christians or Muslims or school children who are 5 years old, that Prabhupada's saying that we cultivate such realization of the principles. I mean, that's the essence of empathy, is that super soul connection. We're so connected with the super soul in our heart and in the hearts of others that we get realization and revelation how to share these principles in a way that everyone gets it, whether it's in a transformational seminar room, whether it's on the street during Harinam, like that. We share so everyone gets it. And so so that's one principle. And the other principle is, so yeah, we want to take a look at ourselves if we're creating irritation like that. And the other principle is, even those who are pure, let's take examples like Prahlad Maharaj, Jesus, Srila Prabhupada, Haridas Thakur. They were completely pure. They did not have anarthas in their heart. They were completely pure. And still we can see there was a lot of hostile reaction, because the Prabhupada would often say that counterbalance principle. If our preaching is potent, people will be inspired and they'll embrace the philosophy and practice of Vaishnavism, Bhakti Yoga, and there's going to be resistance, there's going to be reaction. And sometimes when Prabhupada heard there was reaction, or the police were coming, or there was negative newspaper articles, Prabhupada would say, sometimes you say, well, take a look at how your preaching is, that your consciousness is not so aligned. But sometimes you say, this is a sign that your preaching is potent. So both are true. This is a sign. So even those completely pure personalities without any anarthas, without anything unclean in their heart, they certainly provoked hostility, because this bhakti yoga, not cheating religion, the pure form of bhakti yoga, of course we want to aspire towards purity and sharing it, but yeah, the bhakti yoga, it's really a militant affront. It's a stance that goes against what the vast majority of the material world, particularly in this yoga, is dedicated to. So some will naturally get like, oh yeah, the truth. Oh, this is for my real happiness, and others will be very threatened and become reactive. Like Hiranyakashipu became so reactive that it was such an assault on his material agenda to control and enjoy the universe. He said, I'm going to destroy my own son. I'm going to destroy my own son. So yeah, so as we endeavor to develop more and more true bhakti qualities, yasyasti bhaktir bhagavat ikinchana sarva guneshta trasamasate sura harava bhakta se kuto mahadguna manoratena sati davato bahi. That's a verse. I think it's also spoken by Prahlad Maharaj in the 5th canto of Bhagavatam. There's also Prahlad Maharaj in the 5th canto of Bhagavatam, mostly the 7th canto, but also 5th canto. Prahlad Maharaj describes that one who's engaged in bhakti yoga with heart and soul, naturally, without separate endeavor, has all the auspicious qualities of the demigods, and one who's not engaged in self-realization and devotional service to the Supreme, even though there might be some apparently superfluous auspicious qualities, they're actually not truly they're not truly good qualities that are for the benefit of everyone. And so so as we develop more and more auspicious qualities through practicing bhakti, then we can expect that we become more and more dear to people. And we can also expect, as we enthusiastically endeavor to spread Krishna consciousness in our sphere, in our projects, that there likely will be more and more resistance as we become more and more potent. Both are true. Both are true, to be prepared for that. And we can study the lives of these. Yeah, well, the name of this chapter, chapter 5 of Canto 7, Srimad-Bhagavatam, Prahlad, the saintly son of Hiranyakashipu. So we don't want to, what is it, anukarana means to imitate, and anusharana means to actually follow the example. So we don't want to imitate these saintly devotees, Prahlad Maharaj or Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur got beaten. He got beaten to death. He didn't die because he was completely mystic yogi. So like Bhishmadev, like Prabhupada, he can leave his body at will. But from any physiological point of view, he should have died. He got beaten in 22 marketplace, tortured. Same with Prabhupada, same with Jesus. So we don't want to imitate. At the same time, we want to aspire for their example. We can learn like, oh yeah, we can expect there's going to be react. The devotee is not trying to provoke. We're not trying to provoke. At the same time, but neither is the devotee ready to compromise just because I want people to like me. Devotees standing for the principles of Bhagavatam, and that's the most rewarding way to direct the unavoidable propensity for service. That is the dharma of the soul, and also we expect well, little, yeah, as I guess you're all aware, yeah, back 40 years ago, practically 40 years ago, this month, 40 years ago, June of '84, my parents were so not encouraging for me to practice bhakti that they kidnapped me. They kidnapped me against my will. Of course, it's a happy ending as it unfolded. They were both mom and dad. Mom in 2010, dad in 2012. They were both absorbed in Hare Krishna Mahamantra when they left their body. And so yeah. So there's going to be challenges, and then at the same time, let's say someone devotes themselves to any other, anything in life, going to be challenges. It's going to be challenges, and so there's going to be struggle. So it's not a matter of whether we're going to struggle. It's a matter of what's a worthwhile struggle. So my hope is that as my life goes on, that I dedicate myself more and more each day, each year of my life, to the truly worthwhile struggle of serving Prabhupada and serving his mission and his movement. And my experience, whatever few drops or glimpses of experience I have the past 41 years, well, taking prasad for 44 years, japa started 41 years ago, is that this is this is a very rewarding struggle. It's a meaningful struggle that gives me richness and fulfillment, as opposed to any other struggles I've been involved in. And again, everyone's struggling. Just, you need to get up early and chant all those mantras, and and you can't eat this and that. Of course, we can do everything and anything. We can sleep till noon. We can go to whatever restaurant we want. Paul Salo said, right, that real freedom is the capacity to commit to our highest good. Real freedom is the capacity to commit to our highest good. So each month, each year, I'm more and more enthusiastic to commit to the program of sadhana and service given by Srila Prabhupada. It's my highest good. And then, and any other struggle, it's a struggle, like practicing sadhana bhakti and serving Prabhupada's movement, struggle. But this is a worthwhile, meaningful, deeply enlivening struggle that brings bliss and joy to the soul that I am, as opposed to other struggles which are just futile and empty, and that's depressing. Hare Krishna. So we did some reading and some He gave some presentation on Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 5, entitled Prahlad Maharaj, the saintly son of Hiranyakashipu. We read the introduction to the chapter and the first 3 verses and purports. At this time, I welcome if there's any questions or comments.
Yeah, I'm excited to ask this question, and I feel like it's coming from this childlike place where my children ask the questions and they just say, why does this happen? Why does this work like that? Just like, I don't know, I hear the birds singing, it's like, why do the birds sing, Daddy?
Yeah.
It's like, why do the birds sing? I don't know, that's what birds do. That's what I would say. And so I was taking some notes, and I was just kind of thinking what you might say, Dhira, and then what the discussion would be around why Hiranyakashipu gets power from the yoga, from the austerity. Where's that power come from? Why does he get that power by just doing this, holding this pose? And I get that, like, so the story I understand is like it disturbs the universe.
Yeah.
Because it's like gruesome. It's like awful.
Yeah.
And so like in that, I see there's love, there's compassion for Hiranyakashipu. Like, please stop hurting yourself.
Yeah.
So like that's fascinating, because it's like, well, you're hurting us by hurting yourself. It's like related to like Gandhi. Please stop hurting yourself. We'll stop fighting or whatever.
Yeah.
So like, but then eventually, so Brahma comes to give him.
Brahma comes. Yeah.
And Brahma is the top.
He's the top demigod of the universe. Yeah.
Demigod. So he's also in a position that's temporary.
True.
His position is temporary.
Yes.
He's the creator, but he says even I can't give you immortality.
Right.
And so it's the special boons, which you probably discussed before I got here, which is the classic.
Actually, we didn't go there today, but yeah, it's
part of the story.
It is a classic part of the
you
story.
You can't be killed inside, outside.
Yeah.
Okay. And so it's just like, then you went to talk about bhakti and the processes of bhakti that give power, mercy and power, and ultimately like a path back to our original constitutional position and joy and bliss.
Yeah.
And then in the process, we're getting all of that now.
Yeah.
We're transcending our karma and getting all that now. So I guess from that childlike place is like, well, Daddy, why do you get power for doing the bad thing? You're not doing the bhakti, you're doing the bad. So where's that why, power? And then it's sort of like
okay, yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, so I wanted to explore that, and I was just thinking, well, the nature of the material world, the nature of the temporary, the material, it must be like part of the trap and the illusion that like Krishna, I'm kind of trying to explain, like, well, Krishna allows that.
Yeah.
And then also does things like delivers Prahlad to that person as a son.
Yes.
So it's like there's some balance there.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Bhakti Devin. Yeah, there's a lot there. Well, but austerity is tapa, means heat. And so it's described Bhagavad Gita, there's austerity in the different modes. And the idea of like to fast for some material political purpose, it's like austerity in the mode of ignorance, maybe passion. So we're going to do austerity. Human beings, we're going to do austerity. Other species don't do austerity. Time to eat. Feels sex drive, look to have sex. Time to sleep. Time to defend and start attacking, like that. They're not going to do austerity. Human form of life, we're going to do austerity. We're going to give up some immediate comfort and gratification for some longer term hopeful happiness. So even if someone has no idea of fasting or anything like that, but you go to a job to save money so you can get a bigger house, you get a college degree so that you know that later then you'll have a better lifestyle. That's an austerity, right? You're not just going to the bar every night. So we're going to do austerity. It's just human. Because sometimes people say, oh, real spiritual, why not just do what you feel? Just do it, do what's natural, do what you feel. Okay, all right, all right. But here's the thing, to do what's natural in the human life, that could mean just, yeah, just have that fourth cone of chocolate ice cream and just do what you feel, have sex with that one. Okay. But in a human form of life, what's natural is austerity. Everyone does it. Our choice is how to direct that propensity for austerity. And we can direct it tamas, raja, sattva, or shuddha sattva. Lord Nrsimhadeva in the 5th canto, chapter 5 of Bhagavatam, he describes Tabo divyam puchakina sattvam shuddhadyasmad brahma sakyam tvanantam. What are we looking at there?
I'm just taking notes.
Oh, taking notes, got it. Okay. I thought you were looking. Okay, thank you. So yeah, thank you. So yeah, so we're going to do austerity. So Lord Rishabhadevi says, so direct that propensity intelligently. He's talking to his 100 sons, headed by Bharat Mother. Direct that propensity, do austerity in a way that will bring ever increasing, ever deepening, expansive spiritual bliss that never gets destroyed. Because we can do austerity to increase our bank account, we can do austerity to get a degree next to our name. And I mean, that could be part of our bhakti yoga, but not addressing that now. But then that's all going to be destroyed. That's all going to be destroyed. So, Shudyed Yasmad Brahma Sakyam Tvanantam, ever expanding bliss. So that's engage in bhakti yoga, engage in devotional service, direct our austerity in that way. So at the same time, let's say like Hiranyakashipu in days of yore, let's say in the recent 100 years, someone like Hitler or Stalin, like that, they must have done lots of austerities, okay? And so that's because they got a lot of power, and they ended up like Hiranyakashipu, but they got a lot of power, and so it means they deserved it. There's no mistake, and it means they did some sort of austerity, and so the whole material world, it's just like Krishna through the material energy reciprocates with our material consciousness, what we desire and what we deserve. Okay, so you want to have this sort of control, and that's the whole material world. We're going to get what we desire and what we deserve, and we can increase what we deserve through austerity, and we'll get power. We'll get power through austerity. Then what are we going to do with that power? Am I going to use it like Hiranyakashipu or an Adolf Hitler? Where it's like, okay, I got power through this austerity. Okay, let me use, because there's potency. Just like a crucible we use. There's the book, The Family Crucible, right? So a crucible, there's heat and it's pressure and things get cooked. So in a family crucible, in the crucible of the family, we get purified. So austerity is tapa, it means heat. So it's a purifying crucible. So then, and we get power. There's power in heat, power in fire. So what are we going to do with it? So I can use that to share Krishna consciousness, or I can use it to lord it over others for my petty ego gratification. So yeah. So Krishna's through super soul, aham sarvasya prabhavamata sarvam pravartate. Krishna is the source of all material and spiritual energies. So Krishna through super soul is going to reciprocate with our desires, whether through spiritual energy or material energy, depending on what's the quality of our desire.
Yeah. I'm thinking about toward the end of the 18th chapter of Prabhupada, he's talking about Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, and saying that there are self-realization available
Yes.
in other yoga.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, there.
So it's like, yes, there's there is paths and there's self-realization available.
Yep.
It doesn't go to like the core. So what's the purpose of the austerity? Like you're saying like what were they? So it could be like to cultivate something that's temporary, and then you'll end up like Ranyakashipu and like that. And but okay, yeah, and but the friction there creates heat, so it creates something, and that's just the nature of the material energy in the world, like the nature of the senses. It's like to always want more, to never be satisfied. That's just their nature. So it's like the question's immature in the sense of like the child doesn't understand something's nature. It's like that's the bird chirps. It's like, well, that's its nature.
It's nature,
right? It's like, but you know, but why? But why? But like we can understand something about like to accept things have a nature. And then if we're in the material concept and we're thinking our nature is our body. So my nature is to eat, you know, to satisfy my senses. Then that's my nature. And my nature is like, no, there's the nature of the temporary and the senses, and then who I am is the eternal. And the nature of eternal is to do bhakti. Actually, it is to do bhakti.
I like where you went, because you can tell the child, well, it's the bird's nature to chirp. And it's your nature, child, to ask, why does the bird chirp? It's so true, because no other species, whether the grass or the trees or the squirrels or the lions or the cats or the dogs, no other species asks, why does the dog bark? Why does the bird chirp? But only the spirit soul in the child's body, or the adult human body, it's your nature to ask those questions. Atato Brahma Jigyasa, for a spirit soul in the human form, we have sufficient intelligence to ask questions. Why does the bird chirp? The bird never asks that, because it doesn't have intelligence sufficiently developed. So that such a question reveals, that's actually philosophical intelligence. Hare Krishna, Danya.
Hare Krishna, I love this. Hare Krishna from Saraswati also. We're on the go this morning, but one of the things that I love this. I'm sorry I was late today, but I appreciate so much everything that I heard and Bhakti Devin, your inquiry and where you went with that. George actually got this question this morning and answered Saraswati. He said, because they are not fortunate enough to be able to chant the Maha Mantra. So he told her. So I like how everybody is you know, uniquely parenting and coming up with all these answers on the fly, and you know, we're all trying to do our best, and it's, you know, the variegatedness of Krishna's manifestation that each of us is getting super soul guidance and intuition on what our child particularly needs from us. And yeah, one of the things that comes up to me in relationship to this conversation, which is not an aspect that I usually think about in the story, because usually I go more to like parental protection and individual liberation, but I'm feeling inspired by the conversation that you're having about this perception that I was introduced to, you know, in my spiritual life growing up, and then I think was reinforced as I started learning more about like, what does it mean to be spiritual, is the idea of you know, I think it's like simple living, high thinking, but then it gets applied as you need to be poor, you need to be like an ascetic and like live simple. But what does simple mean? And then I think about Prahlad Maharaj. He was like prince of the whole whatever, like universe, world, like, you know, he was son of Hiranyakashipu. And I think about like what that position is. It's a hugely, you know, materially abundant position. And then he did, you know, he inherited, right? Like he became like the ruler of everything. And so like, I don't know, like great power, great responsibility. Like I want to be fully available for whatever Krishna has planned for me, whatever that looks like. But like, is there an emphasis in our tradition of like leadership as bhakti yogis, of like some of our duties are sure to like go into the forest, and some of our duties could look like so many examples in our line of acharya. But then we also have examples like Prahlad Maharaj or like the Pandavas. Not that of course I'm on that level, but I don't know, I'm interested in the idea, the conception of leadership, like bhakti as leadership, and what does it mean to serve like a servant leadership. Like, what does it mean to serve God with love and devotion, so that we're not under Hiranyakashipu, so that we're not like all materialistically worshiping and, at the Target, at the temple of Target, so we're not directing our energies and all of Krishna's abundance, Lakshmi Devi, going towards these dark paths that are just, like Hiranyakashipu, he had all the power, but nobody was benefiting from any of it. So then, I don't know, I like this idea of an empowered leader who's directing all of Krishna's potency back to him for everyone's welfare, for everyone's benefit. And I'm sure, like, I don't know, I haven't read about it, but if Prahlad Maharaj, he was in charge, I'm sure he was doing that, just like I know the Pandavas were doing, just like Krishna orchestrated the whole thing for them to be able to do. So I guess that's coming up for me this morning in this conversation is servant leadership, redirecting our energies in Krishna's path. That could be, simple living, high thinking, but it's because it doesn't belong to me. It doesn't belong to whatever, conception of self I have right now. I really want to serve God. And so I have to be ready to take up whatever it is that whatever he's placing on me. It's so like relevant to my life. I feel very shy, and I feel like I hide a lot because of this particular issue. So Hare Krishna.
Krishna Bhakti and Danielle. Thank you. We're discussing Prahlad Maharaj today, great devotee of Lord Nrsimhadeva, astounding devotee. Srila Prabhupada will sometimes emphasize. Prahlad is, I think, about the age of Saraswati there. Prahlad's 5 years old. And Srila Prabhupada will often emphasize Prahlad Maharaj. He's the best of the Mahajans, right? There's 12 Mahajans. Prahlad is the best example of a Vaishnava. And I'm emphasizing that because there are some sources that are fairly common, people are commonly exposed to, where the guru is saying that, I hesitate to say this, but I hesitate to say that Prahlad Maharaj's bhakti is influenced by Gyan. He's not really pure, and we don't want to listen to that. But there's all sorts of conceptions going on, even close to where we are right now. So Prahlad Maharaj, Prabhupada emphasizes he's inconceivably pure devotee, best of the Mahajans. So yeah, what the saying is, rich is not he who has the most, rich is he who needs the least. Okay, so that's, yeah. So someone can have billions in the bank, but they're not rich because I need this to prove this, I need to prove that I'm richer than this one, whatever, and they're still insecure. And someone can be penniless, someone can be in debt. Oh, so they're really spiritual. No, what's the quality of their heart? The quality of their heart, it's no fair that I got no money. Why does this one have a house and I have to live here, and their whole life is based on greed and envy and like that. So and someone can have a kingdom with trillions of dollars, but they need nothing because they're completely atmaram, completely self-satisfied. That's rich. And someone can be penniless and completely self-satisfied in bhakti. That's rich. So there's plenty of examples. This is a major part of Prabhupada's teachings of Vaishnava, pure Vaishnava leaders. Prahlad Maharaj, Maharaj Parikshit, Maharaj Yudhisthira, Lord Ramachandra, Lord Rishabhadev, Bharat. Arjuna, the Pandavas, you mentioned, Danielle. That's like a major theme. More recent times, in the time of Lord Chaitanya, Maharaj Prataparudra. Maharaj Prataparudra, so he had everything. He was the emperor like that. He was the Maharaj, but he was just like, my life is worth nothing unless I can have an audience with Lord Chaitanya. My life is worth nothing. My kingdom's worth nothing. So he needed all he wanted was the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. He was rich, and so he was the devotee leader. So there's many examples. It's a whole theme in Prabhupada's books, all the books. So this is Yukta Vairagya. Bhakti, it is not a world rejecting path. It's very world embracing. It's very whatever, just like some of us were recently in a seminar room. So and it's like, oh, psychology, that's material, or transformational process, or communication, leadership training, that's material. No, it's all Krishna's energy. Now, it doesn't mean that anything we do with the energy that's spiritual, that takes realization, revelation, super soul connection, takes some intelligence coming from Srila Prabhupada and super soul, how to relate to Krishna's energy, rather in politics, economics, psychology, science, physics, to relate to Krishna's energy in such a way where we truly spiritualize the world, we spiritualize our mind, we spiritualize whoever we come in contact with in our professions. And that's what Prabhupada and the Acharyas want. Sure, for some, maybe it's their service to live penniless in a cave or something. But for the most part, Prabhupada's mission is that Prabhupada and the Acharyas, they want their followers to be leaders in every field of human endeavor. Maybe a few exceptions like butchery or something like that. But for the most part, Prabhupada and the Acharyas of our Prabhupada, they want their followers to be leaders in every field of human endeavor. And it's just like in the world. Now, there's also a place for the ashram life. Of course, there's turning our homes into an ashram by using it for Bhagavatam discussion. And then there's a place for like a communal temple, ashram, temple devotees. There's a place for that. And there's a place for devotees to be in law and politics and science and psychology and medicine and business and university professors, and not getting bewildered there. And that requires strong sadhana. With strong sadhana and staying closely in touch with Prabhupada's books, then the follower of Prabhupada can go into any sphere and give, and give. The osmosis goes outward, give Krishna consciousness, create transformation, rather than getting bewildered, which unfortunately happens a lot too. Today, we're discussing some of the verses spoken by Narada Muni in relation to Sri Prahlad. There's a verse by Narada Muni spoken to Vyasadeva in the first canto. And that he talks just about what we're talking about, Tanya. Idami pumpsas tapasa shutasya sutasya sviktasya chabudi datayo yad utamashloka guna nuvarananam. Yeah. Avyuchutorta kavibir nirupito yad utamashloka guna nuvarananam. So Narada Muni in the verse and Prabhupada in the purport, they talk about leadership, politics, economics, physics, chemistry, social work, sociology. And Narada Muni is saying, he's saying that these fields, they're not meant to be rejected. These fields find their perfection when they're used for Yaduta Mashloka Gunanuvana, when they're used for the glorification of Uttama Shloka, which is a name for Krishna. He who is glorified by the choicest transcendental Vedic verses. So every field is, medicine, leadership, training, and education, every field. Prabhupada wants his followers to be strong in their Krishna conscious, go into every field and become leaders in that field. Become leaders in that field. A big part of our endeavor with transformative communication, Sattva, is to illustrate conceptually and experientially, not just that like, these fields can be used in Krishna consciousness dovetailed, but that all that is truly valid and truly auspiciously useful in these fields, not just could be used, but that all that is truly valid finds its origin, source, completion, and most perfect sublime application in the Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, dear. I feel very encouraged. What's your question, Saraswati? We might have to come back to Saraswati. Thank you very much. I feel very enlivened and encouraged. I'm going to reference that place specifically that you said. Narada Muni speaks to this. And maybe that will give me more encouragement. And
Sure. It's the 5th chapter of the 1st canto.
thank you so much. And I do feel that I want to follow George's example, and I want to stand strong next to him. And so thank you for encouraging me. Hare Krishna.
Thanks for your inspiring sharing an example. Hare Krishna. Anything else?
And the absorbing the pastimes will be in a play, will be in a drama.
You're going to be in a play, yeah.
And so, you know, when Hiranyakashipu is ultimately frustrated that he can't defeat Prahlad, then he's like, you know, he becomes some humility, and he's like, what's the source of your power?
Yeah.
Your power, you're be able to be under control of the universe. Like you're saying, he's the one who's resisting and not
Yeah.
surrendering and not being defeated by his powers. So he's, what's the source of your power? And then God says, my source of my power is the same source as your power.
Mm.
So that goes to like the question like the devil was asking about that austerity. So that it's the same source. Krishna is, you know, the source of that power that comes through that austerity, and the source of the devotional, you know, power that comes
Yeah, yeah.
through Prahlad Maharaj.
So what character you're playing in the play?
I'm a Marka. I'm one of the demon teachers.
Okay, you're one of the sons of Shukracharya.
Yeah, Sukracharya. Yeah, yes.
Okay,
We picked that up to the end of he was the sons of Sukracharya.
yeah. Thanks for your comment, Parampara. Yeah,
A little context of like, so like Sukracharya is the guru of like the adults.
Yeah.
And then his children are like teaching, his children maybe are teenage, maybe they're like older teenagers or early 20s or something. They're
you can imagine, yeah.
the 5-year-olds, they're responsible for them. So it gives me some context.
Thanks for that. Yeah, like as you're indicating, it's not like a rather simplistic, childish. Childlike is a spiritual quality, but not like a childish. You know, sometimes in the name of Christianity, the conception like well, there's like God fighting the devil, but yeah, it's the same as Prahlad said. That, well, the source of my power is the source of your power, Dad. The source of your power to control the universe and do all those austerities and torture people, that comes from Krishna. Matirna Krishna Parto Svatova. That comes from Krishna. And so it's not like there's the devil fighting. All the energies are coming from Krishna, and including the material energy, of course. From Krishna's point of view, there's no material energy. It's all Krishna's pastime. From our point of view, we want to make that distinction. Yeah, here's an energy that relating to it in this way puts me more and more into illusion and alienation from self and God. But all Aham Sabhasi Prabhavamatar Sabham Prabhatam. Krishna says, I'm the source of all spiritual mature worlds. Iti Madhva Bhajanti Buddha Bhava Samanvita. He said, those who really get this, then they naturally worship me with devotion. Those who get this. So also, yeah. Thanks for highlighting that aspect, because that sort of answer we can imagine would be so enraging for Hiranyakashipu. But the source of my power, same source of your power. Why? So much what he didn't want to hear.
And with the birds, I mean, we're answering the question about the birds. Kind of tell I was thinking about that also, but we can be not sure exactly what the birds are chirping, what they're communicating, but we can be sure that it's related to eating, sleeping, mating, and defending.
Yes.
In some capacity, and then it's like so that's like their nature to do
Yeah.
that, and then there's like human nature to ask more profound questions like, well, why are they chirping?
What's the purpose?
What's the purpose of the chirping? And then George's answer was, yeah, they're not to chanting Hare Krishna, they don't have the capacity to chant Hare Krishna, they're just talking about eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Then the human capacity is to, you know, such questions like that lead us to chanting Hare Krishna.
That's another fully super soul realized shastric response. Because yeah, we might know exactly, might know exactly their language, but their chirping is they want eating, sleeping, mating, defending. It's somewhere around that.
You can inquire about Bhagavad Gita, but human beings can inquire about
By the way,
Bhagavad Gita.
yeah, that's a distinction. And if all we do is our form of chirping for eating, sleeping, mating, defending, it's the using the computer as a doorstop. Right, and then it's a sad waste of the human form. And Narada Muni and Prahlad Maharaj, and like, because at the beginning of the next chapter, yeah, Prahlad Maharaj, he's telling his schoolmates, no, start now with Krishna consciousness. Don't wait till you're old. They were getting, oh, it's a good thing, but when we're old, they said, no, it's a sad, tragic waste. Use the human form of life from the youngest age, and he can speak. Because from the time he's in the embryo, he's absorbed in Krishna consciousness and he's absorbed in Bhagavatam. So the Acharyas, Srila Prabhupada, Lord Chaitanya, the Goswamis, they're just so compassionate. Like, no, don't squander a moment of the human form of life outside of its highest purpose. Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Right?
Hare Krishna, thank you. Hare
Hare
Krishna, jai. Daniel Saraswati, Hare Bol.
I always look at the time.